Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayana. Dear devotees of Chicago Kalibari, today again Sunday, the 4:30 session on astronomy and astrology. Today is a very interesting topic. All of you know Lord Rama. He took his incarnation on this earth, on a particular day, Rama Navami day or whatever it is. And Vasishtha has cast his horoscope as to where the situation of all the planetary situation in his Jataka. So Sriram Ramanujam from Virginia, he will talk about Rama's horoscope today. Okay, with that, let me pass on to Mr. Sriraman and his daughter. Thank you.
Jai Sriman Narayana. Welcome to this edition of talking about astronomy and astrology, how both are intertwined, and how we understand when we talk about Janma Kundali of our birth time and how the planetary situation is. Our ancestors knew a lot more about the world around us, more than in addition to what they knew about the world itself. Hence, we want to kind of look back into Ramayana, and Ramayana has very specific things that has been mentioned about Rama's birth and how things were around that time in terms of the planetary situations. I want to read out a sloka that talks about Rama's birth. At the time of Rama's birth, by the way, Ramaya, Ramabhudraya, Ramachandraya, Vedase, Raghunathaya, Nathaya, Sitaya, Pate Namaha. Jayatyashrita Santrasa Dhvanto Idamchanodaya, Prabhavan Sitaya Devya, Haramavyoma Bhaskaraha. So if you look at it, right, Rama was born in the Bhaskara Kulam, solar dynasty. Krishna was born in Chandra's dynasty. Rama was in Bhaskara's dynasty, and so a lot of things around what Rama's birth is around how the sun is positioned also, that we will take a look at. But the sloka in Srimad Ramayanam says, Tato yagne samaptetu rutunam shat samatyuyuhu. All of us may know that Dasharatha did the Putra Kamyeshti Yoga Yagam, and based on the results of the Yagam is where Rama was born. But it says Rutu Nam Shat Samatyutuhu. If you look at our chart here, we have talked about the Rutus being 6 of them, right? 6, 2 per month, right? 2 per month. They being, it starts with Vasanta Rutu, Grishma Rutu, right? Varsha Rutu, Sharad Rutu, Hemanta Rutu, Shishira Rutu, right? There are 6. So it says 12 months. How did Rama's birth take into effect for 12 months? One might wonder. Truly speaking, the science behind it is also that the gestational period that we as humans are in the mother's womb is 9 months. But the inner meaning, if you go to acharyas, that will tell you is it takes 3 months for the sperm to be taking shape of an atma in the male body. So the male body, it takes about 3 months for the sperm to form, and then the total time that we take to be born is 12 months for everybody. But since Rama, right, it was Rama, he decided to take birth right after Putra Kamyeshti Yagam. There was no transfer, right? There was no transfer. He entered into Mother Kausalya's womb directly. So, in order to make sure that he took a full human birth, what he did was he stayed in Mother Kausalya's womb for 12 months. So, in order to make sure that Ravana did not discount him on any aspect of having a full human birth, he never exercised his supernatural powers. He never showed anybody that he was a superhuman. He never showed his Chanka Chakra like Krishna had. He lived as a normal model human being and accumulated so much powers that he was able to defeat even Ravana. That's the real story behind how Rama, and that's why the Rama's greatness is greater than any other avataram, because he lived a full life of a normal human being and yet was able to accomplish a lot. He underwent the same pain, sufferings, whatever he showed, but in everything he showed his tenacity to go through everything based on how he was as a model human being that never went in astray from the dharma shastras laid out by our elders, which is the Veda. So that's why Ramayana is considered a Vedam, the fifth Vedam actually, because of the fact that it talks about all the aspects of Vedams and everything is related. I want to kind of conclude our learnings here based on Rama's birth, so that everything that we learned in the past 7 or 8 weeks can be summarized by going through Rama's Janma Kundali, or how where the planetary situations were with respect to Rama. Rama, as most of you know, was born in Navami, on the Navami day of Rama. And most of the things that we don't do are Ashtami and Navami. We don't do many things. Any auspicious thing is not done on an Ashtami or a Navami, which is to be avoided. But the thing about Perumal was, Karunikan as he is, he made sure that those 2 days get some benefit. So Krishna was born on an Ashtami, Rama was born on a Navami. Navami, that's why everybody will remember Navami. And Sita was also born on Navami, apparently. So Navami is accorded a greater status. But it also says, the sloka says, Tatascha Dwadashe Mase Chaitre Navamike Tito. That's exactly why we are going to say, we know that in the Chaitra Masa. Chaitra Masa meaning the lunar Chandramana Masa of Chaitra, where when the moon is towards Chitra Nakshatra. If you look at it, the full moon is going to be near Chitra Nakshatra. That's why it's Chaitra Masa. Okay, it's going towards that. That's the month he was born. And if you look at the position of the moon, it's showing the ninth month, ninth day, right? It's a Navamika. It's always rotating anti-clockwise, and it's going towards Purnami, Shukla Navami. Okay, that's when he was born. That's how the moon is positioned. This is exactly how it looks. I'm going to give you a top level view to say how the planets were situated. It's a visualization of how the planetary bodies were at the time of his birth, and how we can also learn about how they do Janma Kundali for us. Nakshatre aditi daivatye swacha samsteshu panchasu is what it says. Nakshatre aditi. So like I mentioned earlier too, every nakshatra has an adipati or an overlord, a devata that takes care of it, right? In this case, it is Aditi. Aditi is the mother of all devatas. So Punarvasu is what she has attributes to, in the sense that she overrules Punarvasu Nakshatra. So if you look at the moon actually is pointing towards Punarvasu on that day. Okay, it's that way. It's pointing to Punarvasu with respect to the earth. That's what we, as it revolves, the nakshatras that of the day is how the moon seems to us relative to the earth. Wherever the moon is for that particular day, pointing to is what's called a nakshatra, Punarvasu nakshatra. That's what it tells us is the day was Punarvasu nakshatra. It was a Navami Titi. Griheshu Karkate Lagne Vakpata Vidunasaha. All right. So it says in the Karkata Lagna was Vakpatha, right? Vindunasha. So Karkata Lagna, we talked about Lagna also, last week. So a day is divided into 12 equal parts. Every 2 hours, the rashis that we see here, right? From Makara, from Mesha to the 12 rashis that we see have 2 hour slots on every single day. And each one is called a Lagna. So on the day in the Mesha Masa, the current Masa that we are in, even though it's Chaitra Masa, right? The earth is right there, The moon is right there, but what the sun is going to show is a Mesha. Mesha Rashi is what it's going to show. So in the morning, on the day of the on every single day during the Mesha Masa, the Lagna begins with Mesha. So Mesha is the Lagna. For the first 2 hours, it's Mesha Masa, Mesha at the sunrise. 6 o'clock, if the sun is the sunrise is at 6 o'clock, 6 to 8 approximately is Mesha, and then from 8 to 10 is Vrishabha, 10 to 12 is Mithuna, right? And then 12 onwards, 12 to 2 is Karkata Lagna. So Karkata is the fourth, right? As you see, it's one, it's like including this one, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to 8, and you arrive at Karkata Lagna. Karkata Lagna is around 12 noon. So that's exactly why Rama Navami, when we celebrate Rama Navami, we are always asked to celebrate during the afternoons. So afternoon is when exactly Rama was born. That's what it says, because he was born in Karkata Lagna. And the Karkata Lagna is determined by the day of the month. And as the month goes by, right, for example, the Mesha, as it comes in the middle, the duration of the Mesha in the Lagna reduces to an hour, 1 hour in the center, in the middle. Towards the end of the month, it's going to be reduced to almost nothing, because you're going to go to the next month, which is Vrishabha. So hence the Lagna keeps changing also. It's a round robin fashion. It keeps, you put back the Mesha as soon as it's done. That's how beautifully the whole system works. Now he was born in Meshamasa. He was born in Karkata Lagna. He had Punarvasu as this nakshatra. Navami has a sthiti. So we know the time of the birth also. We know the time of the birth based on the Lagna, which is important to us. It's not exactly the time of birth, meaning 3:15 a.m. or 12 p.m. is what we measure by. We measure by the 2 hour slots, because that's what guides how the planetary positions are. I hope that made sense. Pradyomane Jagannatham Sarvaloka Namaskrutam. So that's what it says. It says every world that salutes to Rama was born with this asterism in place. Everything, all the planetary positions were in place. Now we're going to look at the real actual planetary positions that has been described in the same Ramayana. So based on the moon being in Punarvasu, pointing to Punarvasu, it was in Karkata Lagna. The moon is also attributed to be in the same Karkata Lagna. So Karkata Lagna is, the when we say a Lagna, this pi that you see, the in the space, the section of the circular space is divided up into these rashis, right? So this Karkata is how it is. Now Surya, right? We'll talk about Surya being the first one ever that was important for Rama's birth is Surya. Surya is already in Mesha Rasi. He is in Mesha month, and hence his Rashi is Mesha. Now Jupiter, which is Guru is the is Prajapati, right? Prajapati as a planet. Jupiter, they are also going around. All the planetaries, like I've put up nine planets here. I'll show you all of them. Jupiter is in this section of the Rashi. He's in Karkata Lagna also. He's Karkata Rashi. So the section of the space around the sun, Jupiter happens to be in Karkata. So that's how we know when we talk about Kundali, they always tell you the different positions of the planets at this given point in time. Right now, as we see it, they'll tell you that, oh, you can see Venus in a certain point, or Saturn in a certain point. And that's exactly how our ancestors have determined what it is. For example, Saturn, right? Shani is in Vrishabha Rashi, Vrishabha Lagna. Okay. Rashi or Lagna. We'll come to why I'm calling it a Lagna, because when you talk about Kundali, it becomes a Lagna. So at that point in time, he was supposed to be in Saturn was supposed to be in Vrishabha. Now, when you talk about Mercury was supposed to be in Meena Rashi. And the same Mars, right? Mars, this Mangal planet, is supposed to be in Makara Rashi. Okay. And now, what are the planets are we looking at? We're looking at Rahu. Now, Rahu is in Dhanush. So Rahu being the head and Ketu being the tail that we have seen. We said last week also there are the points in space that come in between to make sure that the sun and the moon lose their light. So they cast a shadow, is what we say. They're always going to be in opposite. They also change positions actually. When the eclipses happen, also keeps changing. They have an 18-year cycle actually, and that's how Rahu and Ketu are in the opposite rashis. Now Venus, right? Shukra is in Tula Rasi. He's in Tula Rasi. Of course, this is based on their proximity, right? They're closer to the sun than they are to the earth, and that's why I've put them in closer to the sun. Before right after Earth here. And Jupiter and Saturn are out in the outer space. That's exactly how the planets were positioned during the time of Rama's birth. Jupiter is probably going to be right there. Saturn is slightly closer than anybody else. Huh? Saturn is farther away. Yes. See, I had it wrong. So Saturn is farther away. Hence the gravitational pull and the push of Saturn is low. Hence, Saturn takes much longer. Actually, it takes 30 years for each Rashi to go through. Right? It takes for the full rotation. It takes a revolution. It takes 30 years. So he's a very slow planet. Actually, that's why it's called Manda. Right? When you say Manda, he's the one. Sthira. He's also called Sthira. Saturday is called Sthira because he almost seems like he's never moving. That's the reason why he has different names for as planet. And each of these planetary positions that they are in, and based on which Rashi they are in, guide us in terms of how our functions, how we function as human beings. Our papa karma all get attributed to any of these planets, and then each planet has their own good and the bad in terms of where they are, and that's how we form a kundali. This is exactly how Rama's birth, at the time of Rama's birth, the planets were positioned, and that's exactly what Srimad Valmiki Maharishi says in Ramayana. Now, what I want to try to do is translate everything that we had as a planetary position in how a kundali is formed, in our astrology, in our Indian astrology. So just like you have, right, Mesha gets the first this thing, and just for convention, they started the first Rashi starts right there, Mesha, and then there's this Rishabha, and then Mithuna, right, and this becomes a Karkata. So my handwriting is kind of poor right now, so bear with me. And then right after Karkata is it Simha. So as you go around the 12 end right through with this becoming the Meena, which is the last month of the year. Now based on this Rashi, right, our positioning was, this is the Lagna. So Karkata, he was born in a chart. Take a look at your own birth chart, right? It'll say Lagna. In the Lagna was Chandra and also Guru. Guru were the two planets that are in Karkata Lagna, based on where they were. And Shani happens to be in Tula. So Tula is the Rashi here, and he happens to be in the 7th. Rahu, on the other hand, is in Dhanush, in this place here. And Mangal, right? Mangal is in Shavai, is in what this thing is here? Tula. Oh, he's in Tula.
Shani Mandir.
Yeah, Shani is in Vrishava. Shani is in Vrishava. Shani is in Vrishava. Rahu is here, right there, right? Correct. So that's how roughly, if you get an idea, right? So that's how they chart out your birth chart. Your birth chart, or the kundali that you do, is based on the planetary positions of each Rashi. Where the planets are in the Rashi, that's how they position your planets, your kundali, and based on who's the overlord of this. If you have a certain planet that goes along with this place here, that's how you good effects, bad, right? So they said Karkata Rashi, Karkata Lagna was when Rama was born. But then they say Bharata. So Bharata was, so he was born in Meena Lagna. So if you look at terms of astrology and how
Got it out. It's a really very born to the same parents, but again, it's not kind of a
60,000 years before he could beget Rama, because apparently he had accumulated so other Atma available, no match. There is no horoscopic match